Pulisic dentro, Rafa. Gol! Ebram! Gol! È l'azione più bella del mondo! È l'azione più bella!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the SempreMilan podcast. I'm your host, Ollie Fisher, joined once again by Anthony Torgrud.
There's a bird sitting on my windowsill, which really caught me off guard because it's very close to me. It's just a dove, nothing special, but it's more exciting than these games we got to talk about. So,
Maddie, you've picked a good episode to come back.
Yeah, I thought, maybe I'll just won't watch this weekend and continue to be on a hiatus. But, I like being miserable. So I thought, what else would I like to do on my Monday morning besides work? So here I am.
Appreciate it, mate. Appreciate it. The more the merrier. As AJ says, yeah, we've got another interesting couple of games to unpack and a game to preview. So going to be a lively one. The alarms are sounding off. We're in full-blown crisis mode. We're going to talk through it. Before we dive into the games, I want to say thank you to our Substat founding members, Des Windsor McGlynn, Tito Mack, Moritz Pullman, Joey Gawler, Kemin, MJ, Mats, Luke Villano, Raul Escobar, Jack, Carlo Fassi, Nasser, Merlin Finker, Derek Favretto, Heavenly13, Mike Schulz, JT Physio, Marco Villela, Roberto Racinos, Ken, and Medi K. That's the first time in weeks I've read through it without making a mistake, I would say.
yeah, you did pretty well.
So, better than Milan. Over on the Substat, what you can find, and reminder, you could try a week for free. The most recent pub chat that Lorenzo and Stefano did was about a corporate reset. The idea of Milan hiring a new CEO and a new sporting director, reshuffles within the current management that clearly isn't working. And I think we're going to speak a bit about that, to be honest, in this episode. But go and check out their pub chat. They suggest some solutions for how to try and take away some of the cooks that are spoiling the broth, so to speak. Bonus pod that me and you did, AJ, was on the consequences of missing out on the top four. We did it the day after the Bologna game, which, of course, we're going to recap when we fell, 8 points behind fourth spot. It could get even worse today than that. It might not be just missing out on Champions League. It's going to be missing out on European football in general at this rate. But we spoke about that, the economic, the sporting, and I guess the reputational repercussions of not having Champions League football, what it means for the project. Isaac's most recent bonus article was an updated breakdown of how much Milan's shirt is worth in terms of the sponsors. Obviously, we've got the kit manufacturer, main sponsor, sleeve sponsor, back sponsor, all that kind of thing, and how much it's gone up because there's some new deals which have kicked in. And there's also a little bit of a thing on the Emirates because there's some mystery surrounding that deal. Then you've got the newsletter as well. Was about a potentially decisive period in the season coming up, and well, it was decided one way or the other, and there's a bulletin in there for all the latest news over the past week. Righto, Bologna.
Okay.
So I messed up here because I decided on Thursday that I was going to make a bolognese. I made a ragu.
So you're the reason that we lost.
Yeah, because I feel like that might have been tempting fate.
Well, we did both predict the loss last Monday anyway, so.
We both
predicted double losses, I think.
2-1 loss.
Yeah.
Yeah. It ended
Got
up
that right finally.
Woohoo! Yeah, we should have backed it, actually, to be honest. We knew the magnitude going into this game, in the sense that we were in a do or die position when it comes to the top four, running out of runway, not many games left to try and save ourselves. And Bologna are also in and around the fight for the European places, having had a pretty good resurgence after a difficult start to the season. This one didn't. It was everything that we feared it was going to be. A bit of an anticlimax from a performance point of view, but just sloppy goals to concede. Bit of refereeing controversy thrown in there too as well. Yeah, not enjoyable at all. I can't even remember who scored the first goal for them. I'm still so wound up about the Lazio game.
Castro.
Santiago.
Santiago
Okay, right.
Castro.
So
The better Santiago.
Yes,
it was, yeah.
So there was a newspaper headline, I think it was Corriere dello Sport, who did something like, there's only room for one saint as in Santi in heaven. And they pitted it as the battle between Santi Jimenez and Santi Castro. Oh, fuck yeah, Leao scored first, didn't he? I had in my head.
And our Santiago had the assist on it, so technically he got on the score sheet first.
Did. Went direct, long ball from Maignan. Nice flick on from Jimenez, and Leao, with, I guess, the one bit of composure that any of our players showed throughout the entire game, brought it down well and rounded the keeper to score. I think it would be fair to say that kind of came against the run of play. I think Bologna had been better up to that point, and we'd done this thing where we tried to soak up the pressure and just knock it long every single time. It was attractive football in the first half from us, but we're going in 1-0 up, and you're thinking, okay, the plan's kind of worked.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I don't remember at all what their goal looked like. There's been so many goals we've conceded, I can't remember which game was which at this point.
So the equalising goal was the free kick that comes in, and Fabian controls it with his arm, and it goes back across to Castro to bang it in from close range. Obviously, all our players are like, ref, that's handball.
That was the first one, right?
Yeah, that was the equaliser, yeah. The ref hadn't...
in my head, we definitely didn't score first, but we did, yeah.
Yeah, I know, it's mad. That's the Mandela effect, I swear. I swear we equalised, but yeah. Hits Fabian's arm, and then it goes across, and Castro puts it in from close range. Was checked for a couple of things, the offside, but then it comes out after the game that VAR is no longer allowed to check for handball that doesn't directly lead to a goal, i.e. he hasn't handled it directly and it's gone to someone else and then in, which is an absolutely stupid rule.
It makes no sense because an assist does lead directly to a goal, you know?
Yeah.
Like if you're on the score sheet for your handball, you led to a goal.
Now, if you want to argue differently that like his arm wasn't out here, it was on his thigh. But I know that when a handball leads to a goal, as in they handle it into the net, they say that it doesn't matter where the position of the arm is. So your arm can be on your thigh, and if you knock it in like that, it's handball. It's touched your hand and it's led to a goal. Whereas it's different for giving penalties. Your arm has to be in an unnatural position. So it's a bit different in that interpretation. But yeah, it turns out they changed the rules, I think 2 or 3 years ago to be, it has to be the goal to rule out handball with VAR. Stupid, but, the defending was also very shit. How are you letting their number 9 have 5 yards space that deep inside the box to fire in? Complete switch off from a set piece. You've done the hard work by soaking up their pressure in the first half. You get that goal on the break. It's kind of like a great smash and grab first half if you then proceed to see it out the rest of the game. And then you concede with pretty much the first attack of the second half. It's like, it's the script's flipped in the sense that under Conceição, we used to go behind and roar back. Now it's like we're getting into good positions and not knowing what to do with it. We've not managed to strike a balance in any sense there.
Was there some controversy about their second one? Was this the one where they dribbled it out of bounds and then just kept playing?
Yeah.
Okay, so neither their goal should have counted. It's interesting. So I'm going to get a little conspiracy theory here on us. Let the record show we played like shit in all 3 of these games and we deserved the losses in all of them. But you go to Torino, concede a bullshit own goal. So that's kind of whatever. I don't remember what their second goal was like. I think it was legitimate. There was nothing issue with it, right?
It was that quickly taken free kick.
Oh, so there was. Yeah. Because even this weekend against Lazio, we weren't allowed to take anything quick. So both those...
Yeah. By the way, what a disgrace that was. We were away.
Yeah.
Oh man,
multiple times. So both their goals, bullshit, shouldn't count. So that's a win in my head. Bologna game, Castro was a handball and then dribbled out of bounds, 2 goals. So that's a win in my head. Lazio, we had a bullshit penalty in the 98th minute. So that's a draw in my head. So that's 7 points more we should have, which puts us at 48 and in 6th place. Instead, we're in 9th. And if we beat Lazio, we'd be in 4th right now if we got all 3 of those wins. But instead, we're in 9th place. So, and then Inter didn't have a penalty called against them in a 1-versus-2 clash for a handball that was blatant obvious in the box. So it's just Morata League, and that's the story of the summer.
Morata League.
Yeah.
I like that theory much more than us just being absolutely shit. So
yeah, we're also dog shit.
Yeah.
I think our XG for the 3 games is like combined 0.4 probably. I don't know.
Are we should we just go down the copium route and like the league's against us. Because
Yes.
before it was injuries, right? We could say, oh, well, we've got 10 injuries. What are we meant to do? But now it's like, that's pretty much our first choice team here. So what are we going to blame? I just decided to get the stats up. So in this particular game, Bologna, 57% of the ball. The XG was 1.98 for them to 0.62 for us. They had 4 big chances to our 2. They had 14 shots to our 8, 4 shots on target each. But yeah, the stats line is dominated by Bologna. We'll come on to the Lazio one, but they also dominated us. We're not playing well. And there was something that Leao said after the game where he said, we're not playing good football, but we're playing the way that the coach has asked us to play. And I thought that was quite an interesting comment because he then said, and that's how the goal came, as if to say, it's fair enough, you know. But I think effectively that was the plan. The plan was to not play very well. And this is like what we should have expected all along from a Conceição team because it's kind of how Porto were. They'd sit deep and compact and then just try and play direct and get forward. But it isn't looking good. And it's really hard to do it when you've got a squad that's low on confidence anyway. And you've got such little time on the training ground to fine-tune some of these mechanisms. Because as
so many games in a short span. And it's a system so foreign to all of these players. Under Fonseca, they tried to play the exact opposite, a possession-based, hold on to the ball, move forward methodically. They weren't good at that either. So now we switched to this sit back and wait. Not good at that either. Under Pioli, there was no system. It was just, have fun, freedom. And honestly, that did work. So they don't know what they're doing. And they haven't.
Bring Pioli back.
2018. Yeah, bring him back. Fuck it. He's getting sacked today too,
Yeah.
Isn't it wild how much we all wanted Pioli gone? And now we're like,
for the record, I don't actually want him back.
No. I know. It's
well,
like shit. Grass is not always greener on the other side.
Yeah, exactly.
It's true, but you've got to. I think that was the thing that we all said about Pioli is that his time had naturally come to an end, but you've got to get the replacement right, and we've also got to be prepared for it to not be the same vibes because Pioli, whatever you want to say about him, he had created that family atmosphere and that unity within the squad that had the players kind of running through walls and like. In my lifetime, the best football I've seen us play was in that post-lockdown run. Now, I know it wasn't in front of fans and all that shit, but we were unbelievable. We scored goals for fun. We had that run where we scored 2 goals in every game for like 2 months, 2 goals plus. Like it was fun, and we were so exciting to watch. And we pressed and we countered well, and there was interplay. And
that was the 1920 season.
No,
2019/20. It was the restart.
Or was it 2021?
I think it was 2020.
It was when it restarted and we had the thin striped shirt.
Yeah, it was 2020 because it was Latin's first season back. And he arrived.
And there was the end of that season into the next season when we then finally cracked top 4.
Mm-hmm. And I think
that 18 months was...
that. Yeah, because Rebic also went on a run.
Yeah.
And we were all like, what?
Him and Zlatan had like 2 goals a game.
And
I think I would have to go back and check, but I vaguely remember a stat that said like if the season started that the day we returned from lockdown, that we would have been first by like 12 points or something crazy.
Oh yeah. We absolutely flew up the table, and I just say it was just entertaining. The football was there, and I think that because of the lockdown break, Pioli did have the chance to kind of create that family feel that wasn't there before. And now what we're looking at is exactly the opposite, where you've essentially had Fonseca, who appeared a bit out of his depth, and now you've got like a military sergeant guy in charge who's going to be tough love and he's going to try beat performances out of the players rather than, I guess...
I think he's given up on that too.
I feel like they're also trying to control the egos, right? You can control egos to a certain extent, but like you also need those egos got to them to where they are. I can't believe I'm saying this because I was like on board with Fonseca's, benching and everything, but like Pioli let those players' egos fly, and it worked.
Yeah,
it was like annoying, but it worked in the last 2 guys.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we can see how well that is.
It's interesting because I agree with you, and I know under Pioli, like
it is interesting that you agree with me.
Yeah, that's the crazy part. No, I remember under Pioli towards the end of his tenure, it was basically like whatever Leao wants, the team gets.
Mhm.
It was,
Yeah.
if we were coming out to training, we're on the field, oh, Leao's still tying his boots, listening to music in the locker room. We're going to stand here. We're going to wait for Leao to come out. And I know that frustrated a lot of players. Then this whole switch under Fonseca, and it was like, Leao, fuck you if you're not a part of this team, whatever. And no one liked it. It wasn't working out. Conceição comes in, kind of similar, but obviously less harsh on Leao specifically. But we're seeing Leao have more of an ego in the media. Before, he didn't really say a whole lot, but now it's like, what you're saying, Ollie, this interview, he's like, we played exactly how the coach wanted us, and we got a goal, but we play like shit. And, so it's like the ego's there in a different way now. I don't know how to explain what I'm trying to say, but
It's almost like he
had
is
to rechannel it.
snapping back, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like
Yeah,
he's
and like
frustrated, and his ego is showing that almost I don't know, like being like a difficult child, right?
Yeah.
Being like,
Needs to
this
be
is what you
heard in
wanted us
some
to
way.
do, and this is what we did, and we lost. So now what?
Yeah.
It's funny though, because look, I don't think that maybe that quote was said as bad as it sounds, but all you can do is read the words, and the words that he said was, "The coach told us not to play good football." That is if effectively what he said. But he also said that's how we got our goal. Also, that's how he got his goal, and also that's how he should get most of his goals. Being 1-on-1 and running in behind. So I almost wanted to be like, it's not good football. That it's beneficial to you. You're the one who scored for us in this game. But I think he's almost voicing a
Like a team
collective
complaint.
displeasure. Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
what worried me.
Because
But
I'm sure
look,
they all got their little group chats and they all talk shit about their boss. That's normal, right? It can't be
I don't
do
anything.
talk
you
shit
two
about my
talk
boss.
shit about me?
Oh, I talk shit about you, yeah, but
Yeah, but
volunteer
that's not a
bosses,
group chat
everybody
without
else.
you. That's
He's
just
been
to
off
you.
this podcast host. He talks too much. Yeah, I just wanted to go through the teams here to kind of tie up the Bologna game. Look, they could have won by more, to be honest. They were far better than us. Vincenzo Italiano, I've always kind of liked the football that he plays as a coach, and I thought this was a good move for him. But I just thought it was another game where Conceição was pretty comprehensively outcoached. We didn't have a match for most of what they were trying to do. Yeah, Maignan, obviously, in goal for us. Jimenez right back again. Stinker and hooked. He wasn't that bad, actually. Not as bad as the Lazio game. Chow and Pavlovic centre-back pairing. Chow got a booking. Pavlovic lost his man for the winning goal from Ndoye, that little run across the front. Teo, another poor game from him. Then there was like Musa, Reinders, Fofana in and around the midfield. I wasn't actually sure what their roles were as it was ongoing. We said, hopefully it's Musa, Fofana as the double pivot, but in actual fact, it seemed to be Reinders deeper and Musa playing wide to the right again. João Felix starting again when we've all been crying out for him to not. Leao on the left, Jimenez up front. And then the other team, Lorenzo De Silvestri, 35-year-old right back up against Leao. I know Leao scored, but we never managed to exploit that mismatch during open play once, really. Bukwema and Casale, the centre backs. Juan Miranda at left back, the free transfer that we wanted to get. Freuler and Ferguson, and Ndoye, Fabian, Benjamin Dominguez, who's a 19-year-old winger, Santi Castro up front. What I'm trying to say is the team that we had out there should have won this game, even without Pulisic in the team. It's the better team, and yet once again we've been outplayed, and that's after we played not particularly well in Torino until the last half an hour of the game. Against Lazio, we chucked away 45 minutes playing like shit with what we thought was our best available team in terms of everybody who was fit, and so I'm worried this is a full-on collapse. It's a vertical collapse. We are now 9. Well, we weren't then, but we're now 9.
Yeah, I mean,
and this game was part of it.
The Bologna game was the second of 3 consecutive 2-1 losses. As I went over earlier, all 6 of the goals we've conceded in these 3 games have been bullshit. One reason or another, but yet we're still not the better team. So it's not like we have the excuse of, well, none of those goals should have went in. It's like, they should have scored other goals on us. We suck. And that's where I guess you get the Leao saying this is the style of play. And if this is the style of play, there is an alternate reality where everything goes the exact same, except the correct calls are made. Pavlovic doesn't make that pass for the first Lazio goal. You don't have the Chow own goal in the Torino game. And we do win all 3 of these games by playing this exact same style, playing these exact same games. But that's not the one we live in. We got to realize that if we're going to intentionally play this sit back, invite pressure, look for a long ball over the top counter, you have to understand that you're going to make mistakes. And if you're making 2 of them a game that both lead to goals, it's unsustainable. You can't do it. And maybe this style of play is exactly how we had so many come from behind victories in the start of Conceição's tenure. But when you have a game every 3 to 5 days and you don't have the depth to rotate your players, you don't have the quality, I guess it's the same thing, but the quality in your rotational players to actually give that rest. And then the ones that you don't have any backup for, like Kyle Walker, because we decided to sell everyone. Where is Emerson Royale? Is he hurt or did he stay?
Yeah, he stayed, but he's hurt. He's out for like 3 months.
I forgot all about that dude.
Completely tore his muscle.
He's not depth though. He's just another.
No, I know, but over Jimenez, I'd take him, to be honest with you.
Also, as soon as the winning goal went in, the camera for Bologna, the camera pans, and who's about to come on and who's clapping with a big smile on their face? Davide Calabria.
Oh, that was the other part of this. Not only did that ball go out of bounds, but go back and watch this. They already had to sign up with the number for the substitution when they kicked it back into play. So you can't do that. Once the substitution has been signaled, you got to make the sub. And we've tried that shit before, and they've said, no, there's a sub, and we've had to wait. But it's
you said the ref's discretion, though, so like play to the whistle, and this is where like
you have to play to the whistle. These players are trained.
I know
to do
what you're
that,
saying.
so.
I agree. I didn't see that thing with the board, but obviously, it happened. I didn't hear the ref whistle for the game to stop, so like. It's a difficult situation, but as a player, the way you remove all doubt is just to keep playing until
Yeah, exactly.
There's a genuine stoppage in play.
The thing for me was it went out of play. They dribbled it back in. They didn't call that, and then they kick it off of, I think it was Jimenez, for a throw-in for Bologna. So it should never have been the throw-in, but the throw-in was the right call if it didn't go out of play, whatever. He didn't call that. But at that point, then you're making the substitution. So the ball's already out of play. So you don't need to wait for a whistle in that moment. But he should have said, hey, we're making a substitution. Don't throw this ball back in. Take a rethrow. Because that happens to us all the time. Anytime we try to act quick, and it happens like 3 times a match because we're a slow team who likes to play negative football. We have a throw in. We'll never throw it forward. It's always going back to Pavlovic. Anytime Teo Hernandez has a throw in, it goes to Pavlovic. Just watch. Just look for it next time. You'll see it every time.
Well,
our corner kicks go straight to
won't
Mignon.
Next week.
You're right there. Okay.
A mess and symptomatic of where we're at. Flop of the match. I was going to start with flop of the match rather than man of the match because it feels more fitting.
There is no man of the match, so.
Well, I'll just say Leao because I thought he took the goal. He took the goal well, but he didn't do an awful lot aside from that. Not going to lie. So, flop of the match, Jimenez for me because of the way that he switched off for that winning goal. It was absolute. Like, this is the thing. You can't afford to have games where you have lapses in concentration. Surely what has happened to this point in the season shows that if you switch off for even 2 seconds, you can be punished with a goal. And in this case, he switches off, just kind of ball watching. After a pretty shit performance to that point anyway, that Benjamin Dominguez skinned him a couple of times. And he's the same age as him, so there's no excuse about him being a kid and all that stuff. He just lost that battle, and then, unforgivable switch off.
Especially after Chow's switch off for that free kick the game prior, like 3 days before for Torino. It's like you, after seeing that and seeing how it cost your team, you cannot stop focusing. You got to be locked in until that final whistle.
It feels symptomatic of the problems we've had at right back this season, because there was one where Emerson, also from a throw-in, just completely
Champions League,
just watched. It's bad. It's bad. We're making these errors and they are costing us. So that's where you say, you can bring up refereeing controversy and all that stuff, but it's like we're shooting ourselves in the foot. So what can we do? We've got to take the gun out of our hands eventually. That was shit. Let's move on.
Aim it in a different direction, but okay, Lazio.
Lazio.
I really
First
thought
half
this
was
game
shit.
was going to go differently.
Mm.
Because
I don't think I did.
Felix was on the bench, and I was like, finally, like we have a starting 11 that clicks together, and they didn't click.
Yeah, it didn't-
Yeah, I think last week,
mesh.
Ollie and I, we said that we were more confident about Lazio than Bologna, but I don't think either
Yeah.
of us predicted a win.
I
think we said
predicted us
draw.
to win 2-1.
Did you? Okay, maybe I said
Yeah.
draw then. I don't even have anything, man. This game was so frustrating. I left before the penalty was even taken. I was at the bar
Yeah.
watching it. As soon as they awarded the penalty, I walked out. I didn't say goodbye. I dipped. I was like, okay, I know how this shit goes.
Mm.
Yeah.
Hopefully
I
you
didn't
paid
actually
your bill.
see we lost until I got home 40 minutes later because I was like, I'm not checking my phone. I know how this shit goes. And
Yep.
yeah.
Pedro, 37 years of age.
Yeah. It's just
And it's funny that we
ridiculous.
laughed about him in the build-up. It was like, oh, Pedro's still there. No way. And of course,
How
it was going to
goes.
be him that
How
then.
it goes.
Yeah, look, we fully deserve to lose this game too. There's no beef in the end outcome here for me.
Yeah.
But the means to the end pisses me off. I thought first half Lazio were pretty damn good, to be honest. We struggled to get a foothold in the game. They completely had our number in midfield. Guendouzi and Ravella have probably established themselves as like the surprise like best double pivot in the league. Genuinely, they've both been pretty outstanding. I know Guendouzi was man of the match. Nuno Tavares, I said in our chat at one point, he's everything that Teo was for us.
Mhm.
He was so good, so good, absolute monster. The centre back pairing, Gila and Gigo, we didn't really do an awful lot. Marisic was allowed to get forward. I mean, for all we say that we have fielded an unbalanced team in the past few weeks with the Fantastic Four and all that shit. Like, we can't afford to have João Felix as a number 10. We need an extra midfielder. Lazio came to San Siro with Zaccagni and Isaacson on the wings, Boulaye Dia playing as a 10, and Shuana up front. Like, that's a pretty attacking front four. Because Baroni said, let's go for it. These are vulnerable and we can do it. And they did.
That's the thing. Everyone knows it right now. And next up is Lecce. I mean, we'll get to that in a minute, but like that's a team who has nothing to lose, so they're going to go for it too. But yeah, I mean, this game was so frustrating for a lot of reasons. And when you have an individual error leading to a goal every game, like Pavlovic early on, I don't understand why he made the challenge he did, knowing that he was going to ground, knowing that he was kicking back towards a team that was countering us. So they're obviously running towards the ball that you're going to kick back without looking to see where Teo is, who, let's be real, is never in position where he should be. It was a risk he didn't need to take because I don't think he even needed to go to ground there to get the ball. I think he could have stayed up. He could have jostled a little bit and held it off, but made that mistake. It countered. It led straight to a goal. And I thought Mike actually made a good effort to save it, but there was nothing he could do. It was 1-on-1 last second like that. So don't blame Mike for the first goal. Obviously he conceded the penalty, but even that, it's like, okay, it's 50-50 chance.
Although I don't think he's saved any of his last 8 penalties now.
No, he's really bad at penalties.
He was good though, and now he's gone to complete shit. On the first goal, I'm gonna say I agree. Maignan definitely is not the one who's at fault in the main. There's errors that lead up to it, and I think probably the most incriminating thing is on Jimenez again for losing Zaccagni. However, Maignan puts the rebound the only place that's going to lead to a goal. It's just
They
the way
should have
things are
had
going
like
at the
3
moment.
goals before that.
Yeah, they were better. They were just a better team.
Musa fucked
At one
up
point,
big,
the
too.
announcer was just like, "It's in the back of the net," and he goes, "It went wide," and I was like, "Oh my god, this is just a ticking time bomb." You know what I mean?
You could what set the tone was when Dia got in behind within 5 minutes. He went through 1-on-1, and Maignan made a really good save there. But that was
I think it was like
we're
the second
vulnerable.
minute even. I mean,
it was
very
pretty
early on.
Right
Very early
away
on.
again, and it's another game where in the opening 10 minutes we're looking like we should be down 1 or 2 goals, and we got lucky that it lasted 20 minutes this time, 28, something like that. I don't know when, but
our midfield is just shit.
They don't have any chemistry, and we're playing this system, a double pivot, but I mean, yeah, we obviously we had Reinders in there as a 10 this time, so we did have 3 real midfielders instead of Joao Felix. But if Musa's going to fuck up the way he is to the point where Conceição's making a 30th minute substitution to bring on Joao Felix, who everyone's like, this guy needs
Right.
to stop playing, and he basically did a "I told you so," and it didn't work out.
Didn't like that. I didn't like it because Musa had been utter shite. I'm not going to lie. And a couple of things I think were what led to him actually being subbed off. And the straw that broke the camel's back was that back heel that he tried through to Jimenez. And Conceição has gone, fuck off with that shit.
Yeah,
You
but
don't
you know
show
what?
up at 1-0
Joao's going
down.
to do that too. Joao only does
Yeah.
flashy shit.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you're thinking Joao's going to take the shot in that situation? Yeah, probably, but he's going to be leaning back like he's going to play limbo, and it's going to go
What about-
sky high.
What about Leao when we're losing these games and he's trying to do nutmeg chop shit through his fullback rather than just get to the byline and put a decent cross in? You know, like
It's
if
hero
you're going to
ball.
pull
Yeah,
him,
but that's
if you're going to
all Leao
substitute
does.
someone off- yeah,
So,
yeah.
you know,
And I think
and he's done it
figured
for
out
like
by the
300
team.
games now. I don't even know how long.
Exactly.
how
Everyone
many
knows what Leao's
games
going
he's
to
on,
do.
but-
That's why he's less effective every season. He
Yeah.
hasn't evolved where every other team is watched. The season that we won the league, he was a revelation. Every season since then, yeah, he's done well, but he's not done great because everyone's been like, yeah, I know exactly what he's going to do. He's going to do that little overlap, push forward thing so he can get ahead a little bit, and then he's going to cut inside, and he's going to try and go in between the two defenders, and all you got to do is stick a foot in.
I
He's never
I
going to
agree.
change direction. It's never cutting, he's never going up. He's always going down towards the byline to cut in. It's the same shit every game.
Just back on the substitution thing, I think that Conceição's getting a pretty easy ride from the media, or I guess
He
like,
disagrees.
The club are trying to create that. Like, for example, they didn't do a press conference before the Bologna game, which came after we'd been knocked out of the cup by Champions League by Feyenoord, and after we'd lost to Torino, and before Bologna and Lazio. He should have spoken to the media then and answered some difficult questions. But after this game, obviously a loss that makes it 3 in a row, puts us 9th in the table. Nobody in the press conference or DAZN, I think he spoke to, asked him why he took Musa off. Yeah,
I think everyone knew Musa was dog shit and probably didn't deserve to be on.
but
I don't
he
think
should
it's
still
gonna-
be asked to justify it, because then he might make an interesting comment. Or what he should be, these, instead of this like, oh, it was another disappointing game. Where do you think the game was won and lost? How are the team after a result like that? Why not? You've got to ask more difficult questions. Was it an admission that you got the starting lineup wrong? Was there something that Musa did in particular that made you withdraw him? You know, it just never got mentioned. I thought that was strange, to be honest. I also don't think he's been asked anything about why our disciplinary record's so bad, and if it might be a translation of his hardline stance. You know, I think the team are way too uptight, and they're thinking that they need to show excessive passion just to get a passing grade from.
I don't remember this many red cards in a very long time. I feel like
One
we
thing
have one every other game.
Yeah, and it feels like they always compromise us in huge moments. You know, you've got the Dinamo one, you've got the second leg against Feyenoord. Those two red cards ended our European journey effectively.
They probably feel like if this goes in and it's on me, I'm going to get chewed out. So I have to do whatever I can do to stop it. And then they get a red card, and then they concede, and then they get chewed out for 2 things.
Pavlovic won. This is where I was at the start of the point saying the means to the end annoyed me, because I think we deserved to lose this game, but I don't think we deserved to lose it in the way that we did. I don't think the Pavlovic one was a red card. Having watched it back with a wide angle, Gabbia is definitely back to cover, so it's not a last man challenge. Nor do I think that he didn't go in with studs showing. He didn't go high. It was foot to foot contact. It was just a trip. It's a textbook yellow card offence.
I'm not shocked it was a red. I didn't go back to watch it again. So, benefit of the doubt to your assessment. I thought it was a last man challenge, and that's why I was like, this is a straight red. It's clear as day to me, but I didn't go back to watch it. I couldn't bring myself to deal with this shit another time. I already had to talk about it the next day. I don't want to watch it again either. But yeah, for me, it was a red card, and I even go back and forth on the penalty. I think Mignon pulls out, obviously, and whoever did it, I can't remember the Lazio player, but He kicks it
Isaacson.
out of bounds before there's contact, and you could see Mignon pulling away, and it's that rotation of the body. The feet come from behind, but he had already cut out. So I'm not surprised it was given, but I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't get called in other games as well.
Mhm.
It was one of those 50-50 for me. And honestly, the weird thing is that if you're going to call that red card, or I'm sorry, not red card. If you're going to call that penalty, I feel like you probably should have given a red card as well, but he didn't. So I don't know. It's a little weird to me. Maybe that was just kind of giving us a little bit of grace, but like, come on. If you're going to give
I
some,
will
yeah.
figure out how to do the screen share at some point, but I'm just going to have to hold my phone up and I'll show you why it wasn't a penalty. Again, in my opinion, I guess, but I think that this is pretty irrefutable. So that's just as he's taking the touch there, it's flipped around,
Yeah.
obviously. So, just
Right,
think of
right.
it from the other side. So that's just before he takes the touch. He's going in a direct line to Maignan, it would be fair to say.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is after the touch. So the ball has gone at a right angle out for a goal kick there. And Isaacson has carried on in a straight line into Maignan. And there's also an angle where you can see him drag his leg to invite the contact. He knocked the ball off to the side and carried on running in a straight line.
Yeah,
So
exactly. So he
it's
puts
not
the ball
you
away
can't give
from
a,
goal and throws his body towards goal, which
you cannot give a penalty for that. Otherwise, it opens up, any contact. I remember Reinders won against. Who was it against? When that ball comes in, and
Yeah,
they
was
said
it
that because he
Roma?
wasn't going to get to the ball, even though he was taken out off the ball.
I think it was
It was
Roma.
Roma, I think.
Yeah.
It wasn't given. I mean,
Mhm.
they really are making it up as they go along, and the fact that
And there's no
wasn't.
consistency, and we get the shit end of it every single time, unfortunately. Maybe that's just because we're Milan fans. We think that way. But with that one, I mean, I'm not gonna blame Isaacson. Is that who it was?
Isaacson, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not gonna blame Isaacson for it because I do actually think that's smart football
Yeah.
IQ. Like you have you're getting the ball first. You see he's gone down already. You're not getting a shot off. Why not try and get a penalty? If you kick the ball away, he can't get the ball, and then you go through him, and then you just hope that they don't look at it the way that we're looking at it now. And he was right; they did it.
If that was really in his mind to do that little shift to the side and try and invite the contact, he actually did a really bad job executing it because the ball goes way off to the right hand side. Like it's gone out of play, and he just runs on straight. It is basically perpendicular. He carries on running, ball goes here. It's that bad, and yet the on, and this is another thing about the VAR process. The on-field call, the referee had a really good view of that. He's deemed that not to be a penalty for whatever reason. Everyone saw the contact. I don't think you can debate the contact. So I think the ref's saying that the dynamics of the play were as such that he didn't think it was worthy of a penalty. What, after the half a replay that he went and watched on the monitor, by the way, first replay he gave his decision, what has changed his mind?
Well,
there?
the thing about the replay, because you watch it and we get the replay first, right before he goes to the monitor,
Right.
So we're seeing the full play in motion. When he gets to the monitor, they have it freeze framed at the contact, so they're not even starting the full thing to see it. So he immediately sees, there's contact. He doesn't get the ball. It's a penalty, and then he turns around. He doesn't watch the actual play unfold, and that's where I think that there's, I don't want to say influence, but it's not as honest as it should be. That's the, I guess, human error aspect of VAR is you start the play at the beginning of the play, not at the questionable part where it looks most egregious, because this is real life. This is motion. This is live action. And we're giving a freeze frame.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
How many
It's as
times
bad
have we
as the
seen,
slow-mos.
there's a newspaper comic where you see the shadow of the dude. It looks like he's stabbing, but then on the other side, you see it's like the running away foot. It's that. It's how perception can change based on what part of the image you're looking at or that your angle.
It's selective.
Exactly.
But it's I think that, and it's not the first time that I've seen this, as you say, where it's freeze framed on the decisive moment. I think that that's the VAR room showing the thing that's made them call him over, because referees are stubborn. They don't want to change their decision.
Yeah.
So they've got to see the bit of evidence that's like, this is why we've called you over, by the way. But then in turn, it just looks like you're trying to frame a murder that didn't happen, kind of thing. It's shit. And look, there were other controversial things that happened during that game. I've seen Lazio fans saying Teo should have had a red card for I can't remember who it was, but he jumps in the air, and Teo for me does clearly kick with his studs into the knee of the Lazio player. I will link
What moment
that
was
for
this?
you.
Yeah.
Can't remember. I'll try and find it
I'm
when
not
one of
shocked
you
to
next
hear it.
talking. But
You're not
yeah,
shocked.
that was pretty bad. But also the João Felix one when he goes down inside the box, for me that is a penalty. If you're
Oh
going
yeah, it's a two-handed shove in the back. It's
Look,
blatant.
you can go
Maybe it was
shoulder
an
to
elbow.
shoulder. You can go shoulder to shoulder with a player, and I think that's fine inside the box. You can almost even lean into a player, but the moment that you
Was that in the
outstretch
first
your arm
half,
to shove
or-
them off, first
No, it was the second half.
second half.
Was it the second half?
It was
But,
before our goal.
But again, I'm not going to shout about it if the game ends 1-1 and neither penalty were
right
given,
before the
because
red
that's
card.
fair. Yeah, it was actually. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. I wouldn't.
Listen,
shout
this
about
all
it if
goes
the
into
thing-
AJ's narrative of why we lost last.
Here's the Teo one. I'll let you live react to it. Wait a minute. It's going to replay it.
I mean, yeah,
Jesus Christ.
that's a red, right?
It's deliberate. It's deliberate because you know exactly what you're doing there, jumping with your studs back into someone's knee.
Yeah,
It's
I don't
really
remember
bad.
that
And
happening at all. But I
was
also
on,
there was a moment for the first time in years where I got up in the middle of a game and walked away. I was like, I'm just going to go to the bathroom here. I don't need to see this shit.
Yeah.
So maybe it was during that. I don't know. But
Man,
Yeah,
it'd
no,
be a
that-
moment
and-
in years if I didn't get up and walk away.
I know.
as you can sort of see from
I have a
the quality of
2-year-old,
that
so it's a
footage-
little different. But
well,
I'll lock in.
We've got a load of 2-year-olds playing for us. It seems
There was a guy
Um,
that shout out Stewart, that was his name. I had never met him before, but he came to the bar, got a Milan jersey, asked if he could sit at my table, watch the game, and I was like, all right, yeah, come sit down. And at a table, and they gave, because we had said that the Milan group's going to come, they had put like a vase or whatever of water on the table with a bunch of cups. And he sat down. I was like, oh, here's some waters for you. Grab whatever you want. And he's like, all right, cool, thanks. Like, I'm good with just water. About 10 minutes into this game, he walks away, comes back with a Guinness. And I said, oh, you needed a beer, huh? And he goes, yeah, this is a little rough one. About 3 minutes go by, he walks off, comes back with another one.
Yes,
So shout out
that's the
Stewart.
way to do it, man.
Yeah, he was struggling there.
Yeah. Now that's my language, like drinking to cope with football. I'm not gonna lie, that's pretty spot on. It was one of them. It was one of them. And then Pedro takes the winning penalty. It's all over. The whole game, we should say, was a surreal, toxic atmosphere, shall we say?
Yeah.
We need to mention the protests, whether you agree or disagree with the way that it took place. I do think it's important to highlight what happened. The Curvers Sud missed the first 15 minutes and then came in singing that Cardinal, you have to sell, go away. They displayed a banner that said Solo per la Maglia, which is just only for the shirt. Like, we're only here for the shirt. We're not here for the people wearing it. Chanted against Cardinale all through the game. Gazzetta is saying that Teo was jeered heavily every time he took a corner. I can't say that was picked up on my feed, to be honest.
See a whole lot of them, but I'm not shocked because
shit.
Our corners are counterattacks for the other team.
Yeah,
every time.
Another aspect of our game that's got a lot worse.
Well, I don't know why we stopped putting them up. Like we haven't taken a corner. Pulisic, I think this season scored directly from a corner, correct? Was that this year?
Yeah, he did. Pulisic was the corner taker for a long time.
And now
so I don't know why
it doesn't matter who's taking it. Leao, Pulisic, Teo, they just pass it back. That's all they do. I don't know who's calling me here, but I'm not answering that.
I'm sure we switched corner taker multiple times. I think Reinders has taken a few, and it for me, he wants to be on the edge of the box in case the ball falls out. Because he's one of the only few.
When we do,
he
cut
stopped
inside,
shooting as well. By the way, he stopped taking those shots from 20 yards.
That's because Fofana's taking them now.
When we actually have an attack and we're in the final third and we cross the ball into the box, everyone is just crowding the goalkeeper. No one's at like the penalty spot or the edge of the box to actually receive the pass. They're all huddled up together, touching each other, blocking the goal. It's like even if someone was there, you couldn't shoot through because you're blocking the goal. What are we doing? Everyone's there. I understand having a guy on the far post. I understand a guy on the near post. You got to have someone on the penalty spot. That's what we thought we were getting when we bought a striker, was a guy who was going to know when to be in the right place at the right time to score those goals. And everyone's hanging out. I mean, there was a moment where Pulisic and Leao, as close as our screens are to each other right now, side by side on the same edge of the box.
Yeah,
What are we going to do? You can't change the play if you have your left
I
wing and your right
yelled
wing side by side. I screamed.
Yeah, I yelled at the screen when that happened. I was like, "Fucking move out of each other's way."
And they passed the ball to each other. Leao passed it to Christian, and then Leao just stood there. He didn't even move. I'm like, okay, you got the ball. You're out of position. You gave it to the guy. Now go get open. Go make a play. Just stood there. Just stood there.
Yeah, and like the maddest thing is that like Leao will have an assist to his name for what was a dog shit performance. He hung up that cross to the far post for Chukwueze's
Ugh.
header. And it was a good header. That was
Cool.
a striker's header from Chukwueze. It was a
Right, yeah.
really good header. I was kind of gassed at that point, and then I noticed that Leao, who had apparently had
Was also
altercations,
gassed, but not.
well, he had altercations apparently with some fans in the first tier during the game. So when we equalised, he turned and cupped his ears towards them. That's the problem. Right,
That's
there.
where
He
we're
did the
at.
same against Parma, and we ended up going and losing that game. Parma away, like really early in the season, second game of the season, I think it was. He cupped his ears after we equalised. Did the same again here, and then we lose. What are you cupping your ears for? Have we won? You happy with your assist?
Yeah.
You haven't scored a home league goal this season.
Well-
Fucking get back to the halfway line.
And that's the thing is a lot of this. It's why I go back and forth with fan protest, because it doesn't help the players. It doesn't motivate them. We see how our players react. It makes them worse. They crumble under pressure, and that's not a good quality to have. But that's the reality of it. So for me, and because we also know, A, Jerry doesn't speak Italian. He doesn't know what the fuck you're chanting. B, he doesn't go to the games. He certainly doesn't watch them, so he doesn't even know you're not there. The only way to send a message to Jerry is to not buy the ticket. If you buy a ticket and then show up 15 minutes late, guess what? He gets his full match day revenue regardless. He does not care if you're in your seat. You're giving him your money. So a real protest is not to give the billionaire money. That's what they notice. That's what they care about.
But
Jerry's a billionaire?
I don't know, whatever. But
he's worth about fucking 20 quid. They've already given the money because they've all got season tickets, so that's the one thing. Like they've not paid for that game, I guess.
I mean, yeah, I suppose that's fair.
But yeah, but 15
I get
minutes,
what you're saying,
why 15
AJ,
minutes?
but like they're there for the shirt, right? They're not there for the players.
I'm not.
And
I'm there to enjoy myself, and I'm not doing it.
Jerry, when you buy a sports team, right? There is a certain like egotistical thing behind it for the reason that you buy it. If your ultras are in the end cursing you, that hurts your ego. Whether he gets his match day revenue or
I don't
not,
think he
you know,
knows they're
like,
doing it. I
does.
genuinely.
I
He does.
guarantee you
He
he
does.
knows.
He knows because he said
He's got little Tweety birds around the stadium watching things.
he
You know,
and also he said that he was disappointed that the chants continued after he refinanced the loan because he thought that the fans would see it as like safeguarding the future and stability, and in actual fact, we see it as an extension of the mediocrity that we're currently seeing.
Yeah.
And he just doesn't get it. He's not on
That's
the
the
same
disconnect.
wavelength as us
Yeah.
at all. Like
If
that proves
the
exactly where
chant
we're at.
is get out of here, sell the club, we don't want you, and he goes, "Oh, aren't they happy that I decided to hold on to it longer?" It's like,
Exactly. Yeah.
you tell us, buddy.
And as mad as this sounds,
to be fair, he refinanced the loan, and in January we spent the most money on a striker that we've ever spent.
I don't know.
Yeah,
if that's
that is
yeah.
no, that is correct.
It is, you
Yeah.
know, and so like, okay, he made a chess move, right?
Mhm.
It paid off. We look like dog shit, but I don't think we're seeing the real Santiago yet.
And that's
You know,
kind of
Oh, no.
he
my,
he has scored or assisted in almost all of his games.
well.
He is doing what we want a striker to do.
You know what's ironic is Lazio is the team he scored the most against in his career, and he totally ghosted. So
Yeah, he
Yeah,
did,
well,
yeah.
his
No,
support
Spurs.
also looked like dog
I think
shit.
second most.
Pulisic is like a ghost of his old self.
Yeah, and
I don't know
this
what's
is the other
going
thing
on
that
there, but-
I'm surprised that I'm seeing like media, commentators, fans, everyone ignoring. They're saying like Conceição is, trying to push Pulisic out. He's ruining him. He's favoriting Joao Felix, and it's not giving Pulisic time. He's been hurt. We
I mean,
know he's
you
been
got
hurt
like
since December. He's been hurt since Fonseca was manager. He's been playing injured. He was supposed to start against Bologna, and they said, no, he's hurt. He's not cleared. And then he started this game, and he looked like shit because guess what? He's hurt. So,
Hmm.
that is
yeah.
a separate issue. But I do think all the players look worse under Conceição and under Fonseca.
Not a
and I
single
don't.
one has improved, and I think
But
if
hear
anything,
me out.
Everyone's digressed.
I would not sell any of them over the summer, bar Jimenez, Alex Jimenez, and Teo. Those are the only ones I'd sell over the summer. I
and
think
Mike. No,
I'd keep Mike even. I think everyone will improve if we could change the culture, because if you have two managers and your entire squad is awful under both of them, it's not the players. That's your system. Your system's not working. That's your club culture. That's your philosophy. That's everything but the players. So the players are the ones who deserve a chance to prove themselves, because on paper, they're all fantastic players. The reason clubs will go in and buy them is because they're good players. But combined, they're not working for whatever reason. And that's when you get a manager who comes in and says, these are the players I have. I need to find a system that works with them. Not, I'm going to force my own system and try to make them change the way they've played football, which is how they became a professional. You're not going to teach an old dog new tricks. Some of the young players might change a bit, but these are guys who've been doing it for decades. That's why they're at this level. So they have their method, and you need to find a way to put it all together in a working system. And if you can't, you're not the right guy. It's not give me another rebuild in the summer and sell everyone and get in my players, because then it doesn't matter who the manager is. So if you get someone who works with your players, it's a cheaper solution, and it'll make them thrive.
That's why I think that if you look at the last two appointments we made, and we sort of spoke about the differences between Pioli and Fonseca, who was meant to be the yes man but ended up clashing with everyone, and now Conceição, who is also, he's trying to bulldoze his way towards something that resembles a bit of dignity. I think the next manager will go back to being someone who tries to create the right environment first and foremost, and is probably more known as an attacking coach. I don't know who that is necessarily, but I just don't think we can go for another similar profile to the last two that we've had. It's great. It's like the chicken and egg thing with the squad as well, because I know what you're saying. You should probably find, because the head coach is the easiest to replace. That's the one figure that you need to replace. You can find a head coach who looks at the squad and thinks, I've got ideas about what I would do to make this group better, psychologically and tactically. But also with the players, I'd take a look at a lot of those stars and leaders and say, you've run your course here. You've let us down way too many times. We all sort of said, or we all settled on the notion that Pioli wasn't good enough tactically to take us any further forward than he had done already. And now here we are in a far worse situation, and the performance of a lot of the players who hit their highest peaks under Pioli has dropped off. So it's like, have they given up? Have they given up on the coach? Have they given up on... it's all so confusing and hard to try and work out. God knows what some of those meetings are like. Anyway.
Yeah, it's all a mess. It's a mess.
Tops and flops from Lazio, should we do?
I think flop's going to be Pavlovic for me. I think he was good in the middle of the game, but you can't bookend a good game with an error leading to a goal and a red card. Even if I disagree with a lot of the decision making, I think ultimately you can't be the guy doing that. And honestly, another thing about the red card, I know we're on tops and flops here, but when he got the red card, we then took off a midfielder for a center back. And you think, okay, but we only play a two-man midfield, and we already took one of them off to put on another attacker. So now we were playing essentially no midfielders. Yeah, we had Reinders in, but he was also playing forward. So it was like a 4-0-5. It made, I mean, we got the goal, so I guess there's that, but it's just ridiculous.
Desperation. It's in-game desperation. We do nothing with any control. No aspect of our game has control. Like we tend to start games slowly, so we then have to chase them. There's no control in the sense of discipline. We're getting cards, red cards. There's no control in the sense that the controversial incidents seem to go against us all the time. But surely if that's happening, you should try and limit the amount of
I'm
events
just
like that.
confused by our last 3 managers have all refused to change the formation. You know, if we're feeling like we're being overrun in the midfield every single game, maybe play with more than 2 of them. Do we need a 4th attacker at all times? Probably not.
Mm,
A 10 is a luxury role that not a lot of clubs can afford at this moment. It's just
yeah.
it's not realistic. So maybe put in a normal midfielder in there, a defensive midfielder that we don't have. Throw in Warren Bondo at some point, give him a minute or two. Like try to balance out the lineup. And if it's more balanced, you're probably going to score more goals because you could build your way up, especially if your objective now is to play direct down the middle. You need people in the middle to do that.
Mm,
If you're saying play down the middle, be direct, but then you have 2 midfielders that are then drawn wide, and you have 2 wingbacks that want to go as forward as possible, and then 2 wingers that only want to cut to the byline. You can't play down the middle because no one's there. The only people there are your center backs. And
mm,
you don't want your center backs playing striker as much as it's great when Pavlovic gets forward every time. That's also why he's getting cards.
Yeah.
Keep your center backs in the back and have someone in the middle so that you could break those lines. You could connect balls and play direct, play forward. And the key part of this all is everyone knows the strategy is get it to Leao or get it to Pulisic and cross the ball in. Now,
Yeah.
all of a sudden, if we're playing down the middle, they've already left the space there because they think we're going wide. And it may not work for every single game. It won't. But at least change it up. Breathe a little fresh life into this team. Do something. But if we try the same thing over and over again, it's not going to change. The definition of insanity is
I was about to
Ooh.
say that.
yeah. Well, we've lost 3 games in a row, 2-1. Each one had a silly mistake in there, a red card, come from behind loss, whatever the fuck it is. It's the same thing 3 times in a row. Change it up. Do something different because they were all winnable teams.
Yeah, I don't want to be that guy who's like, I told you about the coach or whatever, because I want everyone that comes to the club to succeed, but this is going
I was
exactly
hyped on him.
how
I
it-
was the biggest supporter of him.
I
He
was
is, and,
so excited.
Yeah.
like, you can get away with this, I guess, at Porto because it's different circumstances. He's one of them, and they love, like the Simeone at Atletico thing. They love
It just works.
yeah, like sweat for the shirt and all that grinter and all that stuff. But here, he's inherited a difficult situation as it is, and this approach just seems to be alienating everyone, and the football's getting worse. And yeah, it's not good. So Pavlovic flop. I'll go Jimenez again, just so it's my turn to hate on him. You can't lose your man for the first goal, and it was the second bit of inattention in a couple of games. So, yeah, shite.
Yeah, he's dog shit. He's the worst player on the squad, but
He's not all right back. Never been a fullback. He's nowhere near good.
He's not a football player.
He's a new Salamakers. Always
He's like
flop.
I would take Salamakers back in a heartbeat.
Yeah, he's balling. Problem is, Roma are above us now. So...
Yeah, every player we have on loan is above us right now.
Oh yeah, say
that's
stat.
crazy.
6 out of 9 players we have on loan in Serie A are on a team that's positioned above us, and if you include teams in other leagues, 9 out of 12 on loan.
So good.
Yeah, the only ones who aren't are Davis Vasquez and Lorenzo Colombo at Empoli, and Zerulli at Monza, who, to be fair, he only left in January. So, yeah,
sweet, love that for us.
Yep.
Oh, fantastic. Gold.
Man, and I think we have a player on every single team above us, bar Inter, right now. I think there's one on every single team. Adley at
Does Okafor count since he just joined?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He looked great. Did you see the picture of him? He's not fat anymore. Really He's got 6-pack abs.
Look, I'm gonna hazard a guess that he maybe never was, but you know.
Yeah. But yeah,
maybe he's
Okafor
trimmed down
at Napoli. Adley
being out of shape and being fat is 2 different things.
Pobega at Bologna. Who else is above us? The Roma guy, Salamakers. That's 4. Calabria is technically alone still at.
I guess Atalanta is.
And Atalanta. I forgot about them.
Really.
Yeah, so they're above us too.
I guess you can't say CDK is, though.
I mean, he is on loan still, right? It's not permanent yet.
No, I think it was made permanent in.
I thought it was
on
made permanent
February
this
the 1st.
past summer.
Oh, okay.
Nah, it
Oh,
was
was
turned
this
into a
year?
loan with obligation that
Oh, well-
was going to kick in on February the 3rd, or like when the winter window shut. So I think that's been done.
Let me just pull it up then. But yeah, we can keep talking.
It's I mean, man of the match, I guess Chukwueze, because he took his goal really well. He got on the ball and tried to make things happen. He still looked his usual clumsy self when he was trying to dribble, but I kind of like the intent, and he was one of the few who didn't seem to have given up on creating chances organically rather than just launching it in and trying to create panic. All right, let's move
Kalulu
on
at
then.
Juventus.
Yes.
Kalulu Juve, Adli Fiorentina, Okafor Napoli, Benacer at Marseille, who would be above us if they were in Serie A, Morata at
Yeah, they're
Galatasaray,
second.
who's top of theirs, Salamakers at Roma, Pobega and Calabria technically still at Bologna, and then the three below us that I mentioned. And then technically, Marco Pellegrino is above us at wherever the fuck team he's at,
Huracan.
and then Lazetic at Topola?
Lazetic, I forgot about that guy.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, they're fake, but yeah, they're above us too. So
that's the takeaway, is that Lazetic is too good for Milan. Now we can
Good.
move on to preview the Lecce game. Woohoo! This should be fun, eh? I'm well up for this now. Are you?
we're gonna lose.
No. I do think we're going to lose this game.
I think we're going to draw. I think the wheels have totally fallen off here, haven't they? So anything is possible. Giampaolo went in there on 11th of November. In the league, they are 16th. They are in a relegation battle. They've won 6 games all season, drawn 7, lost 14. They've scored 18 goals in 27 games. Whew. That's the worst
They're
attack
about
in
to
the
get
league.
3.
And they've let in 43, so their goal difference negative 25.
Yeah,
You know that's going to happen. Don't you?
If you look at each team's last 5, theirs is better than ours. We've lost 3, 1 draw, 1 win. In that order, they've lost 2 straight, drawn 2 straight, and then beat Parma 3-1. So they've actually scored more goals than us in this span as well. That's not true.
Unbelievable.
They've only scored 3 goals. Never mind.
Most
all in
That's
that
still
Parma
insane,
game.
though.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous. They lost 1-0 to Fiorentina last game. They lost 1-0 to Lecce. Lost 1-0 to Udinese the game before that. Drew 0-0 with Monza the game before that. Drew 0-0 with Bologna the game before that. They haven't scored in 4 games.
Yeah.
So they're going to unload on us.
Well, we beat him 3-0 in the reverse, but Morata scored. Teo scored when he was still alive. Pulisic scored when he was alive. Bartazagi got a red card 5 minutes after coming on, so there's that.
He did, yeah. He did. Now, that was a rough challenge. Just looking at their team here. Falcone in goal. I feel like he's one of those who sometimes turns into Superman. Gallo left back. We've been linked with him before. Bashirotto centre back. Always a set piece there.
Rebic.
Yeah. Has he been playing much though?
I don't know, but I know he played in the game against us.
Oh, he came on. He came on in the last game against Fiorentina. Berisha, Cam, Kristovic up front. He's actually pretty good. He's definitely their main threat. How many goals is he on this season? This season in Serie A, he's got 7 goals, which for a team that scored like 17 is not so bad, and 3 assists. I don't know. So what I'm worried about, given that we are now vertically imploding, and I think Udinese are 2 points behind us in the table, is genuinely a bottom half finish, maybe. So if we don't win this, I struggle to see where remaining points are coming from, because we've got a really tough run of games coming up around April with the Coppers and Napoli and Atalanta, and that's going to be really rough. So if this isn't 3 points, then I am struggling to see which of the remaining 11 games we win, kind of thing. It's that bad now.
Yeah,
I actually think we draw. I can see us drawing this 1-1 or 2-2. I think we've had bad games against Lecce before. There's been a couple where we've had to come from behind to get a point, and we've dropped points there, is what I'm trying to say. And they're fighting. They're fighting for survival. So they've got something more to fight for than us, because we are not going to fight to get into the Conference League.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, if we lose this game, it'll be our first time losing 4 straight since that January the Napoli won the Scudetto under Pioli. And Pioli
Lazio
survived
opened
that.
that crisis as well.
Yeah. Would
Uh,
Conceição get sacked if we lost this game?
I think
I
he should be
could
sacked
see it
already,
happening.
but
Yeah.
well, actually, I don't. I don't actually see the benefit of sacking him now because we know it's going to be Tassotti until the end of the season, and that doesn't fix anything. You know, it doesn't.
And with our luck, Tassotti would come in, do decent, and then all of a sudden we'd promote him, and then he'd do shit and be gone in October.
I think the Futuro need him. They also
Lost.
conceded a last-minute penalty, having been they were 1-0 up, and they had a man advantage from the 43rd minute, and they lost the bottom of the league. That in itself is hilarious. And the Primavera lost 4-0 to Verona, who were 7 points below them in the table. So it wasn't a good weekend.
We have not lost to Lecce in a long time. This thing
All right.
shows back to 2010, and there's no losses. There's 4 draws, but 7 wins for us. And the lowest scoring game is either 1-1 or 2-0. So most
So
of
they're
these
on
games
par to
have
get
4
3 goals.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few, but it's usually us. 3-0, 3-0, 2-2, 2-0, 2-2, 4-1, 2-2, and these are obviously all in our favor because there's no losses. So,
I
and
tell you
that goes
what.
back to 2019, but 2010 all the way. It doesn't make a difference at this point.
I am excited about the start of the new era that the Lecce game marks, in the sense that we go back to playing once a week, which is good. It's actually, we've only got 4 games in the entirety of March, and we just played one of them. So that's really nice. I like that.
That
It's
is
what
nice,
Conceição's
but-
needed the whole time.
Yeah.
We're going to say
Yeah, sorry, Maddie.
About the same thing that you guys said.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's what I said
We're on the
Conceição
same
needed
page.
the whole time was, he was set up for failure being brought in at the busiest time of the year, and he has not had like a moment to actually breathe and try to teach him something, So obviously with the international break, a lot of these players aren't going to be here, but I do think that's going to be really kind to us. Obviously we come back to Napoli, so hopefully we don't win that game. I pray we lose to Napoli, because the most Milan thing to do ever would be to lose every fucking game this season except for the one game that would prevent Inter from winning the Scudetto. So we're going to beat Napoli and hand Inter a win for whatever reason. We just throw the fucking game, forfeit, don't show up. But
Yeah. That's what I'd do too. Well, let's do a couple of questions, and then we'll
Okay.
wrap it. I've gone Twitter on this here. Christopher, or X, is it as it now is? Christopher Otterson asks, 11 games to go, 33 points to play for, and we are possibly going to be 11 points behind Juve in 4. Champions League probably not achievable. What are your expectations for the rest of the season? Where do you think we'll be in the table?
Well, I think we have a late surge. I think that we finished just outside of a European spot. My expectations is that we play competitive, attractive football to get ready for next season.
I think we get maybe 10 points, 9.
An 11 game.
I'm looking at it. I think we beat Lecce probably. We likely beat Como. We lose to Napoli. I think we lose to Atalanta, Fiorentina. We probably beat Udinese, and I realized I skipped the second half of this remaining. Okay, we'll get more than that. I didn't realize. I thought that was the end of it. There's Venezia we should beat. Genoa we should beat since we drew earlier. Bologna will lose. Roma will lose. Likely lose against Monza, even though they'll be relegated already. I don't know. I don't think we'll do well. I think we finish 7th or 8th.
I've just seen that Monza, they've won 2 games all season.
Yeah,
that's brutal. Yeah. I think we've won 11 out of 27 games. I mean, it's unacceptable. The fact that Roma, where we were when we played them in that cup game and stuff, and now they've overtaken us, it's tragic.
Roma were 2 points above relegation when Ranieri came in.
Yeah, he's done a good job
above
there, to
us.
be fair.
Yeah.
That means we could be in like second place.
I think that we are going to finish 9th. I think we're going to finish where we are now. Which is really bad. But you look above us, Roma in great form. I can see them picking up more points than us. Fiorentina have probably been better than us all season, to be honest. Bologna having a resurgence. Juve, They might have a little bit of a drop off, but they could still be 11 points ahead of us tonight. And then anything above that is just out of reach. So I don't see us finishing higher than any of those teams. We might even drop. I mean, Udinese are 2 points behind us in 10th.
10th is the worst finish I've ever seen us have. That was Pipo's year.
Yep.
If we beat that, it'd be pretty crazy because our team is probably
with the
3
level
times
of
as good.
squad. Yeah, that implies, or is it not? Maybe our team isn't as good as we think. Maybe that's the problem. Interesting question.
I did see that Jonathan David said he's going to leave on a free, and same with Jonathan Tah. I'd go for
both of them. Michael Gambino asks, how do you propose going in for players like Samuel Enrique with these results and potential financial standing in the league? I guess you kind of twist that question a little bit and say, without maybe any European football, how are we supposed to orchestrate this revolution that needs to happen? Surely we're going to go back to only being able to attract second and third tier talent. And
I don't think that's
I
the
don't
case.
think we need this whole revolution because, like, as we just said, we think that our players are good. Whether either we're wrong or management's wrong, and I don't think we're wrong. So
the good news is we can be wrong because it's not our job. So.
Yeah.
I think Madison's right. We'll be able to attract players still because at the end of the day, this is Milan. That people are going to say, yeah, I could be a part of that team. Like, oh, they had one bad season. Manchester United still attracts top players, and they're much worse off than we are.
They also pay them way more money than we do.
That's also factual. But I think we can come back.
A lot.
They do. Okay, so maybe it's all shit.
No, I think what gives me just a little bit of hope, and it's only a little bit because I don't think we'd ever go out and replicate what they did. But Napoli had nothing short of a disaster last season and finished 9th. It was a horrendous Scudetto defence. And yet they still had, big players within the squad. Kvara, Osimhen, and obviously things have changed there now. But they realised that the most important thing was to get the right number one in, i.e. the coach, and then to back the ideas because you back the coach. Are we going to go out and poach Conte from Napoli and give him 160 mil to spend, in the same way that they did to rebuild the squad? I'm not so sure. However, I think Serie A has an awful lot of parity when you look at how compact it is in and around the top places. The fact that Napoli can go from 9th to a Scudetto challenge. So in Serie A, I think you're only ever one good summer away from being up there again. That's the level of parity, as opposed to the Premier League, where Man United probably need 4 or 5 good transfer windows to even be in the discussion.
Look at Chelsea; they've clawed back. They're not as shit anymore. They still are, but
they've dropped off again, and they're now 6th, 7th.
Yeah.
So
they
certainly started.
Wow.
They certainly started well.
Okay. I think if the idea is to tempt Conte, which is basically come back to him with our tail between our legs because he begged to join us until the final day that he could. I think you have to say, do you think you could win the league with the current players we have? Because we can't go out for more. Maybe 1 or 2. That I just saw cat. That was crazy.
That was sick.
Yeah.
Best thing in the episode.
Saw a bird and a cat. This is wild. If we could convince Conte, or if Conte says he could win with our players, then we take that chance on him if he's available. He might stay. Probably not, but if he's available.
Oh, yeah. Funnily enough, if he has Napoli maybe win the league, but he gets them into a title challenge and then quits after 1 year because he doesn't like the situation, it probably adds to the argument of why we didn't hire him in the first place. But as we kind of mentioned on the bonus, I would take somebody that gets us instantly competitive within a year because he's going to leave Napoli in a way better place than what he inherited them, and that's what matters.
My monologue on the bonus. Yeah, my monologue on the bonus. I don't know if everyone got to hear it because that was paid, but we could all die tomorrow. This could be our final season. I want to win immediately. I don't care about building for the future. So get me the guy that could win 1 year and dip out. I don't give a fuck. Could be my final one. So win.
AJ is fine and healthy as well as we know, as far as we know. So don't get too worried, everybody.
I keep saying that, but it's because this team's stressing me out. Man, I'm ready. I'm over it. Checking out.
Yeah. So And another thing that people have reservations with Conte, in addition to him not being the long-term guy, as if long-termism matters, we want to compete now, is the system thing. Like, oh, he's a 3-5-2 manager and we don't have a 3-5-2 squad. What does he do? He goes to Napoli and he makes them really competitive with the 4-3-3, which is what we've all been crying out for a long time. Very funny how that works. It's almost like good coaches can adapt to what they have. We'll wrap it up there. Been fun, hasn't it? The last few weeks have been really fun, not testing at all. Reminders of why we love to watch football. That's all I've got.
Yeah, I was going to end it and just play the outro while you were talking.
Yeah, honestly, I do want to say, though, genuine appreciation for anybody who is listening to the entirety of these episodes. I'm not saying it in a way to like diminish our product or anything. We hope that you are enjoying them, and we hope that we can at least still offer a bit of something that you enjoy listening to. Also acknowledge, though, that it's pretty dark at the moment, and sometimes people don't like listening to all the negativity. But we'll keep trying to come up with solutions that we're not paid to come up with, because it's, that's the life of a Milan fan, innit? Thanks for watching, everybody. Back later this week with a bonus set. Back next week with another main pod. Go check out the Substack and have a good week.